get set, where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying?
What we call the bystander effect in the United States apparently does not just happen in the United States. There is a case where a child in Taiwan ends up in a coma because he was thrown hard, apparently with ippon judo throws 27 times in a row, a few times by an older student, and the other times by the instructor. This little boy was 7 years old, according to this article by BBC News. The article is titled, Violent Judo Class in Taiwan Leaves 7-year-old in a Coma. Now, people are blaming this on culture, because they're saying that in some parts of Asia, people believe in stern, harsh corporal punishment. That's not the only place where people believe in that. There are some pockets of the United States as well that believes in hard, stern corporal punishment, that it is character building. And, you're going to make a man out of the boy by thumping him up a little bit. And some people also argue that is why you put them in a combat sport, because you want to prepare them for combat so that they can protect themselves out in these streets, quote unquote, and out in the real world. Okay? This is just a tragedy all the way around because we have a 7-year-old in a coma. All right, I'm going to read a little bit from the article. Okay? Wei Wei is the boy's name as cited in the article. It says he was slammed to the floor 27 times during judo practice by his coach and his classmate. And this whole case has shocked Taiwan. Apparently, the boy's maternal uncle was recording this particular class session because he wanted to show the mother that this club's a little too rough and I don't think you should have your child here. And after the boy was thrown 27 times, he stood up, he started throwing up, and he ended up being taken to the hospital, and he was put into a coma, and the teacher was arrested, and the teacher's still in jail. According to this article, the coach, who was in his late 60s and identified only by his surname, Ho, has been detained for investigation of suspicion of negligence causing serious injury. He has denied any wrongdoing, according to the Taichung District Court. And according to some other parts of the article, he basically said that this was just a normal part of training. So I'm guessing he doesn't understand why he's being held. Now here's an interesting part here. There were adults at the judo studio who witnessed what happened, including Wei Wei's maternal uncle, who reportedly filmed the video to show the little boy's mother that judo may not be suitable for him. Okay, this is a quote in the article. In the East, it is common to expect children to withstand difficulties and obey authority, says Joanna Fang, Executive Director of Humanistic Education Foundation, an NGO which has lobbied for years to end corporal punishment and child abuse. So, this will tell you a couple of things, in my opinion. One, so much for my idea of if you have adults standing around and watching a martial arts class, that's going to act as a deterrent for abuse. Because here's a situation where there were all the adults in the world and nobody stopped it. It was just allowed to go on. Two, when I tell people that I mix judo in with my training, not all the time and not even most of the time, but I'd say about 10% of the time, it's going to be somebody who objects and says no, and I'm going to take my child someplace else, or they'll ask me, can you tone it down, or make sure you don't slam them that hard like that. And I do my best to assure them that your child's not going to get thumped, your child is not going to get slammed usually hard, because they usually don't. And I do the best I can to have safety. But unfortunately, in any type of sport, there's going to be injuries. Injuries do occur. But throwing a child 27 times, that's not something I know that I would do or that I would allow, especially a 7-year-old. But, yeah, if you want to know what's a red flag or what type of teacher that you shouldn't put your child in with, this is the type of thing right here. This is the type of thing. Now, I know people want to say that we need to go back to the old school and get to the old ways. When some of these people are talking about how they were good old days and how you need tough training to make boys into tough men, this is not the way you want to go. If you want anything to be hard, the workout itself has to be demanding. It should be demanding for repetition, and just because they're competitive, not because they're taught to take repeated impact at 7 years old when their body is not fully developed. Matter of fact, for that matter, we're talking about civilians. See, this is the thing. I really wish I could call what I teach not martial arts, but the civilian arts, or just civilian self-defense or something. But martial arts are a term that we're stuck with. Because we're not training soldiers. We're teaching regular people how to defend themselves. Regular people do not need to take 27 falls in a row if they don't want to in order to be able to defend themselves. They need to take 1, 2, maybe 3 at the most. I've never seen anybody do more than 10 falls in a row in order to learn how to take a fall, and they're usually falling on special crash mats. If you don't have those available, you don't want repeated impacts. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to stop. And if the person's saying no, no, please stop, you have a term, mate, it means stop. They know something's going on in their body, and you got to be able to stop so that you don't end up putting them in a hospital or worse. Now, Hank Sue, whose teenage son was allegedly beaten and verbally abused by his teacher almost daily for a year, said Wei Wei's case had brought back painful memories from 2017, the year he and his wife learned of the suffering of the abuse their son had been suffering. So I'm taking that this is a different incident. I don't think this is with the same teacher. He said he would pull my son out of class and hit him with a pipe or stick or kick him with his knee, Mr. Shu said. So this doesn't appear to be the same incident, or the same teacher, but they're bringing it in as a point of the topic of child abuse. So yeah, because it says here, he made my son kneel frequently outside his office. The principal and other teachers saw this, but didn't do anything. See, again, too young, too hard. Let's make them tough by beating on them can lead to their death, especially when they are children. And with the rest of this article, they're trying to lay the blame on Asian culture. When I don't think you can just lay the blame on Asian culture, even if it may be a part of Asian culture. I don't know because I did not grow up in Asia. But I can lay the blame at the feet of human nature, and I know how we in the West, which I can speak to, feel like they got to take it like a man. You got to man up and don't be a wimp and just, grr, grr, raw, raw, slam them, hurt them, push, 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 push. There's got to be a limit to it. You've got to balance it out. You got to have a middle way, which are supposed to be things from Asian philosophy and Asian culture. But the bottom line is, if you want an example of how not to teach, this is it. Basically, you got to trust your gut. And it doesn't matter what other people are doing. If you feel like something is too much for you, or you feel like something is too much for your child, you got to stop. You got to say no, and no matter what other people think about you, no matter what the authority figure thinks about you, anything like that nature, if you need to stop, then you just need to stop. And whether it's a grading or anything like that, if you're going to have to fail that test or just disappoint the coach or the teacher that day, then just fail that test and disappoint the coach or the teacher that day, because your body could be trying to warn you of an underlying condition that could be flaring up, and that training could be aggravating them at that time. And another thing, we're talking about a 7-year-old here, so it's just a child. Just stop. He's got his whole life to try to toughen up. And I hope that this young man will pull through this coma, and I hope he'll be okay. But according to this article, unfortunately, it looks like it says here that he's lying in a coma and likely to remain in a vegetative state even if he survives. So this is just a tragedy and sad all the way around in the name of martial arts training. Let's give this family this little boy our prayers and support. And I hope he pulls through. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like to talk about the martial arts in peace. And as always, thank you for your time.